Alright, alright. Alright, alright. Alright, so in this stream, pretty quick one, just doing it here so that we get an upload. We're just going to do some odds and ends, make sure there's nothing that we haven't read. I think that we haven't read Saw Cleaver yet, nor have we read Threaded Cane. Saw Cleaver, one of the trick weapons of the workshop, commonly used in the hunting business. This saw, effective at drawing the blood of beasts, transforms into a long cleaver that makes use of centrifugal force. The saw, with its set of bloodletting teeth, has become a symbol of the hunt and only grows in effectiveness the more grotesquely transformed the beast, implying that the hides of the beast get worse and worse, and so a saw to dismember becomes more and more useful. So you wouldn't use a saw preventatively, really. Also implying that you maybe want to use parts of those beasts, and so you want to saw parts of them off. Threaded Cane, one of the trick weapons of the workshop, commonly used by hunters on their duties. Sufficiently deadly as a rigid-bladed cane. Oh, so on their duties is interesting. This one says, used by those who, used in the hunting business. But on their duties could imply that the Black Church healers, or the Black Church hunters and the White Church hunters, who both want to kind of remain surreptitious and blend in society, might be using this threaded cane to disguise their presence as sort of investigative hunters who are seeking to eliminate people before beasthood. Sufficiently deadly as a rigid-bladed cane, but also serves as a whip when its blade is split into many. Concealing the weapon inside the cane and flogging the beast with whip is partly an act of ceremony, an attempt to demonstrate to oneself that the bloodlust of the hunt will never encroach upon the soul. Sort of a bizarre keeping of style, as is this like a humanity thing. You know, like as long as we're stylishly killing, certainly it won't encroach on our soul, but I think very wrong. We've read all those. Nothing else there. Oh, and I think we need to adorn our messengers with some hat. So I think now we'll have access to this stump. And here they are. Give accessories to the messengers, and they will obediently adorn them. Let us remember our old Yharnam past and give them the bloody messenger bandages. So functionally what this does is that it gives our messengers the appearance of that adornment when we leave notes to other people. I think I've already done all of that. Alright, so now to explore some world design changes, because something has happened. We've killed the Witches of Hemwick, and we've opened Old Yharnam. So two things have triggered in the world, so we're going to go see if Eileen and Henrik have progressed. We're also going to see if we can take the untrusting man and Ariana back to Odin Chapel.
Alive and well, are ya?
Indeed I am.
This here's a safe place. Stay as long as you like, but if you find any cuisine.
Yep. No change there. Let's talk to the old woman.
Yeah.
No change there. That won't open till Bloodstar Beast. Oh yeah, and I want to see if we can be taken to the Unseen Village. Okay, so Eileen's quest has not progressed. Eileen's quest has not progressed. I'm wearing a vest. Yeah, laughing at my rhyme, probably. The fact that this guy's still there, I think tells me that we are not to Unseen Village times yet. Yeah, I think these crows are replaced by a bag man, when we can actually be taken to the Hypogean jail. One weak attack transformed as killing those fellows, that's good. And we also want to venture into the Yharnam streets and see. I don't think that we'll be able to take Ariana back yet, because I think what we're waiting for is the weather shift that follows either Bloodstar Beast or Vicar Amelia. Can't remember which. Items? Yes. Delicious. So we just saw a description of the lead elixir. If I wanted, when I get lead elixir, I can use it, and all it does is makes me, basically increases my posture. It doesn't increase my defense. You might wonder why, and it's because if I'm lining up a parry with my gun, and I'm hit a split second before by some enemies, those enemies will effectively cancel my parry animation. But if my posture is higher, and I don't stagger when hit by those same heavy attacks, then I am going to be more able to execute parries against more things if I have my timings down. But I much prefer to be as weightless and rollabout as I can. Oh, and there are some other things that we missed in the courtyard here because we didn't go straight through the courtyard. So before we go and check on Ariana and the untrusting man, why don't we also grab the items that we missed in this cathedral ward area. Nice. I think that is a result of my blood gem that increases my charge attack damage. Thick cold blood. 5, we've already read that. Wonderful. These guys are now very little trouble. Oh, and I think the other thing we want to do is probably see about farming some of those Hemwick dogs for twin bloodstone shards. Because I'm one away from a +5 axe, which I would quite like. Oof. Didn't stagger you then, did I? Let's see how much of this I can get back. Not all of it. Madman's Knowledge. Bloodstone Shard. Is there an item over here? Or just a beautiful tableau? I wonder what that is. Oh, that's the route up to the gate from Odin Chapel. There's an item. So this is the doorway that was guarded by that other church giant. Madman's Knowledge that away. I believe that is the path to Bergenworth. Madman's Knowledge here. We get 3 of them in this cathedral. Interesting for a graveyard to be so prominently displayed in a circle like this. This gives another indication of memorial. Some sort of, perhaps, burial of church vicars or high-up members of the healing church. That symbol is interesting. Can't really tell what that symbol means to be. Let's take a quick look at it. Not really sure. Let's look for symbols that look kind of like that as we go through the game. Alright, so I think we also have to the right of the cathedral ward to explore. Okay, now this, beware of slimy things, a fine note indeed. This is our first interaction with an enemy that can do damage to our insight number, which is a completely foreign concept up to this point, and it's properly denoted with both different audio and very different appearance. Also introduced to us alongside some pros just to increase the stress that we feel, and a grab attack that will cause a tapeworm to split out of its head and suck our brains. We get quicksilver bullets from these guys, implying that gunpowder, or how guns are powered, isn't really like a powder keg kind of gunpowder thing. It's more of a quicksilver bullet thing, and it leads us to the arcane. Ooh, 2 twin bloodstone shards. Hell yeah. That means we don't have to grind in Hemwick. Beautiful. Some shiny coins. A household where punching is going on. An outlook into the Forgotten Woods. which is the pathway down to Bergenworth. The level design really loving to give us these perches to see where we will be going, give us the satisfaction of going there. A blood gemstone, which we'll have to check out. Antidote, belying that we'll be encountering poison of some sort in the following area. And a very unique roadblock.
The password.
Keep quiet. Implying that we don't know the password, but we remember that note that we saw on one of these steeples along the back alleys, which tells us that the password is the adage of the Healing Church, known to those members of the Healing Church that can be found in the Grand Cathedral, sort of leading us towards the Vicar Amelia boss fight. Alright, now we need to go discover whether or not we can bring the two people to the church. But first, it might actually be safer to go the other direction. Yeah, because I can't even cheese this guy. He's cheesing me better than I'm cheesing him. Almost got him there. Yep. Okay, with that guy out of the way, it should be relatively easy to deal with the gunman. We just have to stay out of the line of sight of that other gunman. I was expecting that guy to move forward after his chance, but he doesn't. He likes his gun cover, I think. Bullets, another beast. Let's deal with this gunman first. Gunman down. And even the smallest parts of these levels, just giving them the ability to be approached both from the upper end, backwards, or from the real end in the streets and then forwards, provides a lot of player choice. And I think if one is cautious, it is definitely easier to take on this place from this side. Calling us a plague-ridden rat. Probably because we are foreign. They do seem to associate the cause of the whole beast thing on foreign hunters, but I imagine that's more of a propaganda campaign by the Healing Church to deflect away from the truth, which is that the blood that they distribute so prominently is really the culprit here. And in fact, these moon-scented hunters are here because it's gotten far enough and bad enough that it needs to be dealt with by old ones, I presume. Okay, I know that there's some people who pop out at me. Is there a guy on the ground here? Yep. There you are. A little bit of gargle there, huh, buddy? A little gargle voice. Alright, untrustworthy man.
Oh, enough with you.
Okay, no change there, so probably also no change to Ariana.
Oh, thank goodness. You're a hunt, might you know, they say.
Oh, okay, so she can go.
The night is lovely. There must be some nice place to run off to. Oh,
Good chapel.
Perhaps
Now let's see if this guy's dialogue changed. I think his dialogue only changes when he overhears you.
What's this two-bit nonsense you're peddling? I heard you told that wench about some shelter. Well, she's a damn fool to trust an outsider. And why? Well, her sort's probably just fixing to feed some of your coin.
He doesn't seem to be aware that I'm a woman, or maybe is very open-minded about same-sex relationships.
Alright. What crafty lies does the outsider have today?
So here he's dropping hints that he won't believe us. And a lot of games, you would just assume that that's an oversight and you tell him where to go. In this game, it's a gameplay mechanic. So I actually want to preserve talking with him, because he actually is a pretty useful character. He warns you about things in his own roundabout way. If you tell him of the Esophagus Clinic, he'll go to the chapel, and vice versa. I don't want him to be at the chapel, so I'm going to tell him to go... Or I don't want him to be at the clinic, so I'm going to tell him to go to the Esophagus Clinic.
Yeah, outsiders.
Even their lies are predictable. The guy's crafty. Too slow, Joe. And here we are, back at the cathedral. Alright, I might just save the encounter with the other two hunters to the right of the Grand Cathedral for when right before we encounter Vicar Amelia, for a little bit of extra leveling. But I do want to take out some of these enemies just to see if I can inch another level out of, or actually I think I have some cold blood too. So see if we can squeak another 2 levels out of this trip to the Hunter's Dream before we take on Bloodstar Beast, get to level 40. And I think if we can carefully take out the guys up there and the church giant, that guy's gonna shoot at me though, which is gonna suck. Ow. Whew. Just kind of barely made it to safety there, thanks to them getting caught on the level design. Thank you, architecture. My only friend. See how much my skill's doing to that guy. Not a lot. But enough that I should be able to take him out with 1 heavy attack. Oh, they both hit. Alright, that guy's done with. Don't really want to fight this guy on stairs. I have to fight him right here. That works. Stagger? No, this guy does not stagger as easily. I think you just can't stagger him during his wind-up. Alright. Paid us back for our blood vials somewhat, but really he's got us to the close to 2 level mark here. Okay, now these guys I really have to be careful with. Guys are tough, and visceral attacks are wonky on staircases, which complicates them. Also, they have a long range on their vertical attack, and they punish dashing to the side. Close. Dunzo? He's a Don. Yeah, it's like the pro wrestler of Bloodborne enemies, points at you first. Can I get there? Nope. Gotta be safe. Can't let the frenzy get me. Gotta maintain distance to let that bar go down. It's the tricky part of these guys. Closer you are to him. Alright, reset. Nice. Alright, well, since we're here already, why don't we and we know that Hemwick was down that way. Why don't we just fully explore our options so that it becomes clear that Bloodstar Beast and Vicar Amelia are our only two options here. And here we have what will eventually be the entrance to the Unseen Village. Several paths. Now, they put a bolt weapon on this guy, I think, to make it very discernible that one of these things, like it'll catch your eye, one of these things is a hunter. But I think it's also a little bit of a trick, because while that hunter is very clearly on display, there is another one. Here he is, right under, like about 2 inches down from my reticle. See him? He's holding I think a rifle spear and a rifle. He's sort of hidden all the way back there, and his weapons are not unlike little blades of grass or like offshootings from a tree, so much more disguised. So it's kind of trying to debate you here, the level design. Now there is a way to approach this guy from behind by dropping down onto this roof. This item sort of gives you chase for that pathway. We have another rooftop, which looks like we can traverse it, and a couple of crows there. Am I a bad enough gal to take on these guys? I think it's easiest to cheese them with this spiral staircase. But who likes cheese, after all? I might actually like cheese. I have 11,000 souls. Ah, fuck it. Let's go for it. Let's also hear what we can hear from inside. Can't hear much of anything, to be honest. I wonder if we turn up the voice volume. Frenzied Cold Blood 7. That might have different description. Rich droplet of cold blood containing blood echoes used to gain frenzied blood echoes. This manifestation of madness comes from a mind teetering on the very brink. That has a sane mind ever produced anything of true significance? It's different from Thick Cold Blood 5, which recalls obsession as being a part of human strength. This one is teetering on the very brink. And it's no coincidence, I think, that this first exposure... Oh, and look at that chart hunter gauntlet, so beautiful. This first exposure to Frenzied Cold Blood 7 comes on top of this roof of this man who's sort of uttering ravings that we can barely hear. I think I might leave the voice volume on high. Alright, let's see if we can sneak up on this guy. In fact, I might even use some blue elixir. See if we can knock this guy out with one visceral. Ouch. No, don't aggro him. Come over here. Barely stays out of my range. This guy's good. No. Okay, this is where I become a coward. Because I got a lot of blood echoes, got a lot of them. I still have 15 blood vials, just need to heal. And yeah, why don't we take on this guy? He needs to get in close anyway to make use of his tonitrus. Very good weapon. It's funny to me that this guy uses a wooden shield, which has previously been sort of shat on by the game itself. Ooh, bolt defense is lacking. But that's the downside of the Tonitrus. The Tonitrus is so close to being an incredible weapon, but its range is so short. Okay, that guy is the main problem with taking out the other dude, and I think we might even be able to get some bolt paper. Fuck it, let's use some of that, huh? Actually, bolt paper is hard to come by. Let's use fire paper instead. See if we can get another sneak on this fella. Is he reset to the same location? Doesn't look like it, actually. Where is he? Where is he? Where'd he go? Still stuck in this corner. That's funny. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Got him once. The tree's my friend. Really don't want to put distance between us because he'll use his blunderbuss. Actually, I think he's using Ludwig's Holy Rifle. What I might want against him is actually a bit of staggering potential of my own. God, he punishes so fast with that rifle spear. God, he just masters me and just like totally dumbs me in mid-range combat. Thankfully he's not healing. He really keeps himself back because of those rifles. Got him. Whew, Hunter Axe for life, baby. Give me your item? No, just a bunch of bullets. Okay, fair enough. Alright, let's talk to some folk, eh?
Bless us with blood. Bless us with blood.
Teetering on the brink energy.
Bless us.
Let's see what this guy's all about. Where we found the frenzied cold blood on top of his roof.
Bless us with blood.
Her
Bless
roof.
us with blood.
Interesting. Frenzied cold blood over a woman's roof. The word oestrus is Latin for frenzy.
Bless us with
And oestrus is also the origin of the word estrus, which describes the reproductive cycle of therian mammals, i.e. when a mammal goes into heat and is therefore fertile, they are in their oestrus phase of the oestrus cycle, and that oestrus term means a frenzy. We know that frenzy is a mechanic where one's blood gets pointed, put it nicely. Got 2 gunmen to deal with here. That was a close one. And I think we have some little scuttle bugs to pick up around here as well. And an executioner guarding an entrance over there. 2 of them, actually. Let's see if we can aggro one without the other. Let's pebble it up. And I think time to practice a little bit of parrying on these fellows. Okay, so that around the shoulder big wind-up is a very punishable move from them. Get our blood vials back from this run. Ah, there's a scuttlebug. I really want those. Risky. God, they can close distance, can't they? Come on, do your big wind up. Do your big boy wind up. Wasn't fast enough. Their parry timings are pretty tough, I'm not gonna lie. Having trouble getting them down. Alright, get a nice blood gem from them. More twin bloodstone shards, which makes me really regret that I didn't get that second scuttle boy. Item and emptiness. Lead elixir. A very, very suspect room. Big doorway. A bath. We don't know what to call this yet, but let's just examine it. It looks like almost like paper mache or wax or something worse. Looks like there are almost roots or veins coming from it. Some sort of empty basin there. And try to open the door, and we have another cosmic anomaly. So now we've seen it in two places. The player has been reminded that there is definitely something going on in Yharnam that is more than meets the eye. Let's take a look at what it might lead to, and it looks like more... you know, more Yharnam, more city streets. And also we see a pretty big tree right here, and that is actually, let's see if we can tell by looking, that, my friends, is the real-world version of the workshop. The grand tree in the middle. The workshop building. And it is fascinatingly close to the Healing Church, but any ingress towards it seems to have been stifled. I mean, it's basically on an island, a pillar of land, which is a pretty interesting thing to see. Alright, still have my hand lantern on. That shows that I haven't died since the beginning of the last stream. Feeling pretty good. Feeling cute. Might stream more later at EK. Alright, strange corridor. Dilapidated fence posts. A couple of households, probably pretty wealthy households, and perhaps even associated with the cathedral if they're located so close. I heard a scuttle boy. Where is he? Did I miss him? I'm sure I missed him. That's right, I'll catch him on the next time through. Back when we get the tonsil stone from the Forgotten Woods. I think there might even be a place in town where you can get the tonsil stone. I'm going to explore that for the next stream. And that's not a route, but I thought it was. So now we've tackled Hemwick. We've gone as far as we can to the right of the cathedral. Hemwick was to our left. We have encountered a dead end both down there and down there, leading to Bergenworth. That dead end points us to the cathedral. There's nothing that points us to that dead end. And the Bloodstar Beast is another open end that we can encounter. So, let's make our way back to the lantern. Upgrade our axe. Check out the new blood gems. And level up with any remainder. Also curious to see what number of insight makes these lanterns transform into lanterns of insight. Nothing from those jabronis. Nothing at all. Nothing at all from those jabronis. Did I already clear this guy? Looks like I did, but not the crow. Speaking of crows, there's Eileen. And by the time we come back to Odin Chapel, we should have a couple more guests for our chapel dweller. You know, I think a lot of people, when they use the word grind, they have negative associations with it. You know, they think of grinding like, oh, I really hate a game that forces me to grind. But I think that the beauty and the sort of draw of Metroidvania-style games is that whereas you might grind in Final Fantasy by running through the same level and hitting a bunch of random encounters and just beating the same stupid enemies over and over and over again, in Bloodborne there are so many sprawling paths, and this is true of most Metroidvania games, that the grind, you don't have to just run through the same place and grind. You can, there's some good spots for that, but the grind is more of something that accentuates the explorative features of a Metroidvania. It's something that you'll do just by being curious and wanting to go as far as you can go without hitting a roadblock, and when you do, turning around and looking for a different direction to go in. Alright, so let's repair our weapon first. Now let's fortify our weapon. Hell yeah. Now we're 4 short of +6, so we're making pretty good progress. And I think at this point we might even be able to put 2 blood gems on. Nice, so this will be some real damage. So first off, this gives us more phys at full HP, but also just a lot more physical damage in general. So let's combine that with the next highest. Wonderful. Still only 1 blood-tinged gemstone, a pretty rare thing, the world is telling us. Let's check out the Insight Bath, see if there's anything new. There is not. Don't think there is in the regular bath either. However, I'm not one for beast blood pellets, so we can sell those. I also don't use lead elixir ever. I also don't do invasions a lot, so we're going to sell our mist. I should have kept one of those for the description on it, but oh well. Do want bold paper and bone marrow ash. I'm not sure if those give the same amount when sold. Let's check. So 400 would be 7. It gives us 2,000, so, or maybe I misread that. Maybe 400 was 5. No, okay, so selling the cold blood does not give the same amount. Weird that they would do that. Okay.
Welcome home, good hunter.
Oh, thank you, dear doll.
What is it you desire?
I want you to channel my blood echoes and give me strength.
Very well. Let the echoes
Say
become your strength.
Yeah.
Let me...
And again, let's draw the attention to, we hear bell chimes, and she's doing something to our wrist. Also, it looks like she's infusing our blood with a paleness. And when Jura, if we recall, when Jura greets us, he says, oh, you're not just any hunter, you're a hunter who's half cut with blood. I think what he's referring to is that he knows about the dream, and he might know a little bit more about what goes on in the dream than we do. And if our blood is half cut with blood, well, this is the only mechanic in the dream which interacts with our blood directly. You know, it levels us up through blood echoes, and she's clearly doing something with blood in our wrist. So I think maybe Jura knows a little bit more than he lets on. We get 3 levels to spend. Should I bring skill up to 18 right now, or I think I should probably just focus on strength? Well, I do want to bring skill up to 20 eventually. How much does that get me? 203. This gets me 207. Yeah, let's focus on strength at 25 first.
Farewell, good hunter.
Farewell, beautiful doll.
May you find your worth in the waking world.
Maybe upping voice lines volume wasn't the right call. And, you know, I had a little bit more time to think about this theory I had. We see how on these headstones we see awaken above ground, and I talked a little bit 2 streams ago about my theories about Ash Lake and underneath the Nexus and these pillars. And to me, it's mostly Ash Lake that looks very similar to this sort of, you know, tableau. And Ash Lake we see underneath the Great Hollow in Dark Souls. We also know that there's a grand tree growing here, kind of the biggest tree we see in Yharnam itself when we actually look at the real location of the Hunter's Workshop. But with all the mention of water, I had failed to consider that awaken above ground doesn't necessarily apply that we're underground. It could also apply that we are underwater. And I don't think we have anywhere to go for these headstones yet. So I'm not sure if they say the same thing, but I imagine they will. Awaken above ground. Alright, now is there anything else we need to explore? We've gotten Ariana. Oh yeah, we should go back to Odin Chapel and talk to Ariana, now that we have her there. And I think that'll sort of complete the odds and ends we need to do pre-Bloodstar Beast. Or Bloodletting Beast, or whatever the F he's called. He's an asshole, okay? I don't think the Henrik quest moves forward until at least Bloodstar Beast. Okay, now we have 2 new NPCs, along with the old lady who fucking hates us. We now have Untrustworthy Man, who we told to go to Yosefka's clinic, but has ended up here because, if it wasn't clear enough already, he does not trust us. He thinks we are untrustworthy. And he only asked where to go because he eavesdropped on us talking to Ariana. So let's talk to Ariana because we like her more.
Oh, hello, dear.
Hello.
You weren't lying. This is a safe place.
Indeed.
Thank you. I am in your debt.
Oh, Curtsy, so nice. Curtsy telling us a little bit about her. That she is a lady, and not just a lady in terms of her parts, a lady in terms of her birth, I think.
All I can give is my blood.
Well, what do you know? I love blood. I love drinking it.
Would you even take a whore's blood?
Don't be coy. You know your blood is primo. Yes,
Oh,
I shall
good.
receive a blood transfusion from you.
Come close, dear. Don't worry, I've done this before.
I've done this before. I wonder if she's implying that it's like a fetish that she encounters in the whoring business, or if that there is something about her blood that makes it unique and others have come for it before. I think probably the latter, given what we learn about her history. Alright, let's read some of this blood, huh? Comes with a little kerchief on top in a test tube. I guess she just has those ready. Blood taken from Ariana. Cathedral Ward Woman of Pleasure. The sweet blood of Ariana restores HP and temporarily speeds stamina recovery. Oh. A member of the Old Healing Church would know that her blood is similar indeed to precisely what was once forbidden. Lot of confusing terminology in this description, because precisely what was once forbidden is pretty freaking vague. We know that the holy medium found in the what's it called, in the Chalice Dungeons in the Old Labyrinth, was once forbidden by Willem, and in fact, it was, what's his name, Lawrence, who kind of balked at Willem's adage to fear the old blood and started distributing it in Yharnam. So this could be saying that her blood is indeed similar to the holy medium found inside the Chalice Dungeons, which is just a very fascinating thing, because there aren't a lot of things that could explain a woman of pleasure having that sort of blood, except for what I talked about in the Himwick video, which is, you know, the differences that we encounter women undergoing. We see women really undergoing madness or impregnation underneath the Red Moon and throughout the Beast Plague, but they don't really turn into beasts, which is interesting because the men seem to turn into beasts pretty much without fail. And because Odin describes the holy medium that he looks for as a blood with a subtle mucus, and we know that the way that you would medically describe menstrual blood is blood that has a subtle mucus present in it from the uterine lining, which is also expelled with the endometrium and the unfertilized egg during the process of menstruation, i.e. menses, that I think it could be that the quality of her blood is significant because of its fertility, because of it being a woman's blood. We know that Odin is really interested in women's blood. However, later we get a nun here who kind of despises Ariana for her blood, and this nun is also a woman. And so I think that kind of implies that there's more to Ariana's blood than just its fertility out of her, born out of her sex. Alright, old lady I think is pretty much just going to tell us to F off again. Yep. She knows all our tricks. Alright, our first good look at the suspicious beggar. Doesn't show a lot of signs of beasthood. His arms seem to be pretty much regular size, maybe a little bit lanky, but one doesn't seem to be longer than the other.
Ah, you. The swindling off-comer. Did you really think that'd work? There's no fooling me. Now, off with
His
you.
face looks very different.
You heard me. Go away. I can't stand the stench of your lying breath. I'll spare you one nugget of advice.
Thank you.
Beware the blind man. There the beggar sits at the bottom of the bloody food chain.
Honestly, this guy's
And then
been
he's
very
here
honest
acting
to
like
us,
he
except
owns
for
the place.
ignoring us.
He's not to be trusted. What's he want with all those people anyway? That little weasel has a murky past, I'm telling you.
So, there's no blind man that we have encountered so far.
No time for your pet, but what? Just
It's
can't
interesting
stand
because where we do encounter the blind man is pretty far away from Odin Chapel, which implies that the blind man has been active. And the blind man does eventually come to Odin Chapel, but the fact that this guy knows about him, and he came from the streets, and then to Odin Chapel before the blind beggar ever gets here, means that the blind beggar is somewhat notorious in Yharnam, I think. That maybe he's been kicked out of Yharnam, and that's why we find him in the Forbidden Wood. But it's interesting to me that he mentions him right then and there. Okay, let's see if that has triggered Eileen to move, or if Eileen's in the same place. She is, with her beautiful jacket. Hey, Eileen.
Don't go near the tomb below Erden Chapel in the
I won't
Cathedral
go near
Ward.
the tomb.
I won't. I will.
I have business there first.
Alright, now I think there is also a window where you can talk to Patches earlier than the Forbidden Wood, and I'm not sure what triggers that. But I'm curious to see if the suspicious beggar leaving his abode, along with Ariana, triggers anything to that effect. So I think we're going to explore briefly the streets that we just left to bring Ariana and the suspicious beggar to Odin Chapel and see if Patches operates there. It could be that Patches is actually in the section leading up to the old workshops location in the real world, at the bottom of that well. And if that's the case, then we'll have to wait until Bloodstar Beast to try to get the tonsil stone. And it could be that I'm wrong about that even, and we have to wait till Vicar Amelia to get the tonsil stone when we can actually go to the Forbidden Woods. Nice. The upgrade to the axe, plus the additional blood gem slot, is really showing its use. I think I might even want to get my stamina to 25 before I get my skill to 20, just because it's so useful. Okay, let's take a trip down to the stinky alleyways of beautiful, beautiful Yharnam. Hey, buddy. No fire for you. No. Hey. Why you gotta be a terrifying crow all the time over here? Alright. Not gonna be set on fire. Not today. God, I love the Hunter's Axe heavy attack. It just yeets people all over the place. Okay. Let's take another trip through these devilish streets. So, Patches is not taking up residence there. Neither has he taken up residence there. It might even be in one of those houses. Oh, hey, buddy. One of those houses where the two hunters from Yahar'gul, the Unseen Village, were lurking about. But if that's the case, then it's almost certainly after Bloodstar Beast, where the Chalice Dungeons are unlocked. Because that is kind of where Amygdala comes from.
Oh.
And she's just sucking up to the church. Sucking some church asshole. Oh! Not gonna die here. I'm better than this. I deserve more than to die in these funky, funky streets. Stop it! Yeah, nice rake. Try Hannah's axe, why don't you? A real woman's weapon, huh? That's right. Give me your fluids. Give me your stones. Hey now. You walk pretty quick for a gunner. Okay, I'm not going to go into that hellhole. That's just asking to get all my blood echoes pillaged. And really, I just wanted to explore to see if Patches occupied any of those rooms. Suspect baby crib just lying about. A little bit of subtle storytelling in the environment. Let's take out this big boy. Round out our soul count. Got lucky with his positioning and his moveset there. Could have easily done a sweeping attack. Alright, and this should bring us close to 10k, which might get us another distance towards 25 strength, which I'd like to have before Bloodstar Beast. Hey man, just calm down. Just calm down, okay? Yeah, very predictable. Blood vials, I'll take them. And let's circle back around to the old Uden Chapel and get ourselves some souls along the way. Oh, come on. The one time I quit. Fortunately, those guys' boxes are giant. Still not one-shotting dogs. That's really what I want. That's all I need in life. One-shot dogs. Knock knock, who's there? My hand in your chest cavity. Haha, I'm a hunter. Okay. Soon, Henriette. Soon we will sojourn together. But first I must kill these weirdos. Oh, and I realize I haven't talked about the lore implications of these guys, and they are pretty interesting. Because they are definitely not beastly, like a lot of the enemies that we see in Yharnam. We only see them close to, like, very important church property. They're dressed like white church hunters. Like, their outfits look very similar to that, except for the pants, really. And they're wearing giant bells around their necks. They also seem to be pretty giant in their proportions as creatures. They're full of quicksilver bullets, which we know, the tingier your blood, probably the closer you are to either Cainhurst or the choir. And I think later on we figure out that bells are kind of a collaring system in the Labyrinth dungeons, a way to enslave corpses, and like reanimate and enslave corpses, almost like a golem would operate in like Jewish myth. And although I think in Jewish myth they're compiled from like earth and clay, but in Bloodborne I think that these have sort of that Pthumerian look that we hear described in the graveyard kilt description. very gaunt, very like wide open mouth. They don't seem to have the ability to speak, but they can communicate. So I think what these guys are is essentially like servant class zombies dredged up from the Old Labyrinth and put into servitude by the Healing Church by use of like bell magic. I think that is also the service provided for the even bigger church giants. The ones that I just took out in the Cathedral Ward Plaza. Because those guys also wear bells around their neck, and they also wear white church garb. Now, their lack of intelligence and their employment as brutes kind of betrays their garb, because white church hunters are supposed to be the sort of nerdier of the hunters, right? They're the medical ones. They're the ones who do all the experimentation. The black church hunters go and provide bodies for the white church hunters, essentially. And so the fact that these guys are employed as brutes means that I think probably they're just given any old clothes that the people who were testing on them had around, and those people were probably white church hunters, who would be doing like the necromancy, and the bell magic would probably be members of the choir, or white church hunters, not black church hunters, so they're probably just given the garb that was around at the time. Let's see if Chapel Dweller likes Ariana.
Ah, the hunter. Thank you. So that old man, you told him about this place, right?
I did, yeah.
Well, he don't offer me much
Not
in
really,
the way of
actually,
conversation,
but
but
he found
still,
it.
I'd rather see him alive anyhow. And
Chapel Dweller is so
I sort of hope that my
heartwarmingly
asking
good.
you turn out to, you know, help him out in the end.
Yeah, that's
I've
really
never
sweet.
been any
You're
use
right.
to anyone, you see. Just happy about it, is all.
Now, you can kill this guy for a rune early if you want, but
If you
it really
find
makes me
any
feel
sane
sad,
survivors,
so I don't ever.
Send him along to Erdon Chapel, will ya?
I certainly will. You've proven yourself for sure. Alright, let's go ahead and equip Ariana's blood, because we need to use it 3 times to trigger a furtherance in her quest line. And I think that we've explored just about every change in environment. Ooh, wait, no. No, there's one other thing that we haven't explored, and that's I think the last chapter of Gascoigne's daughter. So let's level up and then head to her.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it you desire? Very well.
You know, I want that strength, baby.
Farewell, good hunter.
Farewell, good doll. Goodbye. Repair my axe, because I'm OCD about that stuff. Even though you really don't need to. Still can't fortify anything. Don't want to waste twin bloodstone shards on my pistol at this point. Really, I just upgrade my pistol when I'm out of other things to upgrade. Alright, let's go to the little girl. What's closest to her? Wouldn't be Tomb of Odin, would it? Or it might actually be the Tomb of Odin that's closest to her. Yeah. Oh, Tomb of Odin is not functioning at this time? That means that Henrik is encounterable there. Okay, let's go see Henrik. I thought that Eileen wouldn't be fighting Henrik until she had moved from that position outside of Odin Chapel. And the last time we visited, she was still outside. But I guess I was wrong. Because we can't travel to that place. Either I forgot to light it, which is possible, or the Henrik fight is going down. And I do want some Henrik clothing. It's good against Bolt. Also give me a good excuse to use some of Ariana's blood early. The Bergamore Spider hides all manner of mysteries. It's my original hit single rap song that they ripped off here for this game. I mean, they just changed mysteries to rituals. Basically the same lyric. Latter time. Sadness in the future time. Alright, let's pop out some fire paper just in case. Some blood of Ariana. Get that queued up. Let's take a little look-see down there. better vantage point next to Viola's corpse, sadly. Man, that's really sad. And you know, it's implied heavily that Gascoigne killed her, but Gascoigne was seen to be like attacking, like chopping up a beast that was still alive, because its hand like pops up in his opening sequence. So it could be that she was actually trying to protect her, and that she kind of ran for cover over here and got murdered. But I think it's probably more likely that it's implied that Gascoigne took her out. Is that Henrik? Oh, it is. Hi! Hey! 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 You hit me hard in my body. Okay, Eileen, please join me. Please help me. Did I do this too soon? Eileen! There you are. There's my gal. Yeah, I'm a wimp. What of it? Stupid move, Henrik. Okay, maybe not as dumb as I thought. Are you using some beasthood? What are you doing here? Just yelling? Maybe taking a poo? I don't want to hurt you, Eileen. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Come on, take him out. Take him out. You got it, girl. You got it. Yeah, we did it. Whew. Little bow, little bow. Come on. Come on, we can take some credit on Eileen. Me and you, we did it. We're the dream team. Girl power, come on. Air. Fuck you, Eileen. Always impolite to talk with your weapon transformed.
That wasn't necessary of you. But you have my
I think
thanks.
it was.
We made it with our lives. You're not bad at all. You must have killed Gascoigne as well, then.
Sure did.
He was falling apart. I'm sure it had to be done.
It did. Yeah,
But
he
try
tried
to
to
keep
kill
your
me.
hands clean.
And he killed his wife.
A hunter should hunt beasts. Leave the hunting of hunters to me.
Now, I wonder if that is good advice, because I think if we are to search out pale blood, I think that the way that we get pale blood and what the Moon Presence wants from us is for us to kill other hunters. And I think moon-scented hunters, you know, hunters that come from foreign lands, like the first hunters of hunters, I think exist to take out other hunters. They're either a cleanup squad or they're plundering the blood of hunters for something valuable. And so I wonder if she's trying to tell us not to do it because she wants that blood for herself, or if she really does fear for the implications of what that blood can do to somebody. So it's curious. I'm leaning towards that she wants to help us, and that she thinks there are bad implications of hunting hunters and not just beasts. Approval. Wonderful.
Try to keep your hands clean. Leave the hunting of
That ain't gonna happen, girl. Alright, so now we can backtrack to the little girl, because I'm pretty sure we just killed both her father and her grandfather. Hilarious. But I think she might have taken her own life, is what we'll discover when we go there. Because last time we talked to her, we did tell her about the brooch. But first, let's read the air rune. So very different design from Lake. Looks almost like DNA, like a double helix. Very geometrical. This is just lines and other lines. Like a bunch of vertical lines on a horizon line. And this one looks a lot like DNA to me. A Carol rune that transcribes inhuman sounds. The air sees sentimentality in the warmth of blood and acknowledges visceral attacks as one of the darker hunter techniques. More blood echoes gained from visceral attacks is the function of this rune. Perhaps the air is a hunter who bears the echoing will of those before him. The echoing will of those before him. So I think that the DNA comparison lines up. DNA very much lines up with air, hereditary traits. And this is also one of the first times we've seen the word echo used to describe something other than blood echoes, which I think is significant. So I think it does tell us a little bit about what blood echoes are, which is that blood echoes are not just blood, but also willpower, like life force, personality of the blood that we're imbibing, and that perhaps what the doll is doing when she transforms our blood echoes into strength is that she is sort of transcribing the will of those that we have slain into power that we can harness, which I think is useful for our ultimate purpose in the dream, which is to tackle a bunch of great ones, ingest some weird materials, and eventually be the birthing ground for a new infant great one, so as to repay what we did to the Orphan of Cause, I believe is what's going on here. But yeah, Air is basically just giving us a lot of information about what exactly blood echoes are, and what is happening with our blood echoes in the Dreamlands when the doll does her little ritual on our wrist. Hey man, that's a long stick you've got there. Not as good as mine though. Thank you for the vials. Thank you for the vials. I needed them. Henrik was tough. That beast cutter really tore me apart. Oh, this guy's very tough. Vial, blood vial. Bunch of items over there, which I think... Well, I think I actually want to go down here first to see if... Because I can't remember if the little girl takes the path that leads her through here and is eventually eaten by the pig, or kills herself. Both very sad, tragic outcomes. I think it's kill herself, because I was honest with her about her parents being dead. And I think that if I'm dishonest with her about her parents being dead, she tries to go to Odin Chapel, takes the most direct route there, which is through the sewer, and gets eaten by this monstrous pig. You ain't nothing to me, pig. I've grown. I've channeled echoes into strength. With no G. Just like the doll says it. Circle back around and get us some of the items that dropped from these goofballs. Got hit by a flaming boulder. Can never have enough blood vials. I think little girl's house is the ladder on the other side of this sewage way. Let's try to deal with this crows first. Oh. Hey man. Uncool of you. The uncool. Doing a lot more damage to these dead corpses. It's good. Oh, I already feel so much stronger. I really do. I'm not going to deal with that. Hey, little buddy. Fascinating to me that there is messenger architecture. And this is a small thing, but I do want to talk about it. It's important to the level design and the lore. So, like, there's constantly this question, I think, in the world of Yharnam, which is, like, how much does the church know? How much does the people know about what's gone on? How much of this, like, outside arcane world is obscured, and how much is not? And I think that this architecture here, that is clearly displaying a messenger, gives us an interesting talking point. So, like I mentioned a couple streams ago, the word angel, if you transcribe its Latin meaning, literally transcribes as messenger. And oftentimes when you see angels depicted in architecture and in sculpture, you see them depicted as cherubs, little baby angels, right, that are flying around as little babes. Now, these messengers are called inhuman. They give messages between worlds and deliver items of importance to the hunter. And they're also described as reveling as babes. And so I think that we're seeing a pretty stark comparison to the messengers sort of occupying the, like, cherubic angel archetype in Yharnam culture. And so I think what we can draw from sculptures like this is just like we would see ancient churches use sculpture to depict, like, little cherubic angel babies that might hold our lanterns. I think that's the same thing that's going on here, only they're not obscured as cute little things. They're displayed in their true monstrous messenger form, which displays that the church, those that are engaging in the architecture and the masonry, are very aware of the arcane world that lurks beyond, and perhaps letting people who see this architecture in on some of that lore as well, because we see some really weird architecture inside of the Grand Cathedral that seem to depict amygdalas with absolutely no air of subtlety at all. Like, they're just literal amygdala statues all over the church, which I imagine would be a very jarring thing for Yharnamites to see, which makes me think either Yharnamites aren't allowed in the church, or Yharnamites are more in the know about what's going on in Yharnam than maybe we're led to believe. Alright, let's go grieve for this little lady. And this maybe will give us another level by the time we clobber this big old brute. Who's apparently just heard a very funny joke. He's chuckling out loud.
Good one, sister. So cold. But jokes are good.
Screw you, crows. Alright, let's get ready some parries. Now, I am still very interested in the design of these guys, because they are definitely not beasts in the traditional sense, right? They don't grow any hair. They look more like mummies crossed with Frankenstein's monsters. And I think that that might be kind of what they are. We see them a lot in Himwick. We see them a lot in Yharnam. And I imagine that they could represent some sort of experimentation on the working class folk to turn them into soldiers of some variety, because they don't seem to be afflicted by the beast plague, but they do seem to be quite large. They also say "so cold, dear sister" a lot, which at first I thought was a reference, because one of the first times you hear that voice line, you hear it here, right underneath the young lady's household up there. I thought that maybe it was a reference to her being the dear sister, but the thing is, all of those dudes have that voice line, like all of them. And so it's pretty clearly not the proximity to this house that is the voice line. And what I realized, since so many of them are in Himwick, is it could be that they are kind of Frankenstein monster kind of creatures, which would imply that they are not normally living like heated bodies, that they are cold, because they're essentially dead bodies. And it could be that they're crafted mainly by the witches in Himwick, and since there really only seem to be female operators of the charnel house in Himwick, it could be that, you know, upon their awakening, one of the few things that their conscious brain retains is to say, "I'm cold, dear sister," because they're looking at women, because they're crafted by women, and they are a conscious dead body, and therefore cold. But I just think it's such an interesting voice line to include, to have there not be an explanation. Like, if you just wanted an explanation, or just something for them to say, you know, just give them like they're big brutes. But the fact that they say "so cold, dear sister," I think tells somewhat of a story. And the light's out. This confirms my fear. No response. And since I killed the pig and the pig's belly did not contain a ribbon, I'm afraid that she might have offed herself. So sad. Because I don't think there's another route she takes except for through that sewer. Let's see if this voice line has changed.
Wretched outsider trying to fool me, heavens.
Nope. And I don't think there's anything else here that could change voice lines. Oh, I think there's one place. There's the, like, really fun-sounding party of a bunch of laughing ladies that definitely won't let me in. It kind of makes me sad. So I'm gonna go check that out. Yep, they're still laughing, having a great fucking time on the night of the hunt. Probably the only household in Yharnam that's fucking partying it up. I'm from New Orleans, and there's very hurricane party energy going on in here. People who don't leave, they just stay in their house, batten down, and drink a lot of alcohol. Yep, just chiding about how we're stuck outside, Drunk and spiteful. We want to go this way? I wonder if she could have escaped out the back. No, doesn't seem to be any item here. Just the laughing ladies. Oh, Gilbert. I still need to check in with Gilbert. That's a voice line that could have changed as well. And then that will be the final odds and ends before Bloodstar Beast. That's the thing, there's just so much in this game. It's very easy to forget about. I'll take more bullets in blood vials any day. None over there. Bullets over here. This will lead me to the bridge, which I think should get me pretty close to the central Yharnam lantern. I think I should be able to one-shot these guys with a heavy attack. Unless I fling him too far away to hit him. Unless I'm too strong for my own good. That guy down. That guy smart. Nice try. Oh, these guys used to be so intimidating. Feels nice to make progress. And let's not forget about Ambush Johnson over here. Take out our Hunter's Torch. So I think one of the cool things about this area, because this is the area where downstairs we find the note about Old Yharnam, is that we find this note in this dark room, which incentivizes us to take out our torch. And the description that we find is about how fire was used to cleanse Old Yharnam by the Healing Church. And so it's small, but it's a nice little subtlety. And a lot of the level design in Old Yharnam is within these old dark buildings. It sort of makes you think about the use of fire while holding that source of fire. Killing an old man for his bullets, just classic Bloodborne stuff. When the hunt began, the Healing Church left us, blocking the great bridge to Cathedral Ward as Old Yharnam burned to the ground that moonlit night. Now, we're not in Old Yharnam, we're in Central Yharnam. But this is, I think, sort of indicating that they kind of share, at this point, the population is kind of, maybe it's dawning on them that they're going to share the same fate as the people in Old Yharnam. That the Healing Church is really the people who should be blamed, but really they're blaming it on the foreign hunters of hunters that brought along the Beast Plague. And maybe that's true to some degree, but I think that that's church propaganda to draw attention away from church, the Healing Church as the enemies. But I think that maybe the veil is starting to be parted amongst the inhabitants of Central Yharnam, because they're writing notes like that. They abandoned us as the hunt began, and that night Old Yharnam burned to the ground. Like the church is kind of showing their true colors in one fell, devastating swoop. Alright, so that should get us another level, and take us right back towards Gilbert, who might have a new voice line. And that will, for real this time, be the last odd and end that we need to tie up in the world movement prior to engaging with the blood-starved beast. His light's still on, that's a good sign. Seems to be sicker, though.
You needn't concern yourself with me.
But Gilbert, you're my only friend, dude.
I'm afraid I'm of little help now. But before I take this...
Gilbert's all like, oh, I'm not of much help, here's a flamethrower. Gilbert, this is of much help.
I make no use of it, but perhaps you...
Why do you have a flamethrower, Gilbert? Why is that?
What afflicted me was incurable, but this time gave me hope.
I think this is Gilbert's
Their
backstory.
Strange blood bought me time.
He, too, is a foreigner like you are.
I was most fortunate. Unharmed by the plague of beasts. I can even die human.
Unfortunately, this ends up not being true with Gilbert. He does die a
Don't
beast.
you worry about me.
So, demonstrating that he really doesn't know, and maybe all Yarnamites don't know about the true extent of the beast plague. Alright, let's read ourselves a flame sprayer, y'all.
Can't be much help, but at least I can do is give you this badass flamethrower.
A special weapon used by certain members of the Healing Church. How did he get this item? How did he get this item? He's a foreigner. Certainly he's not a member of the Healing Church. Maybe he became a member of the Healing Church? Maybe he took one out and pillaged it from a body? I don't know. Spits searing flames by using blood-imbued quicksilver bullets as a special medium. Not the most efficient weapon by any stretch. So, in other words, eats a lot of bullets up. But sometimes a sea of flame is just what the doctor ordered. Besides, the beasts of Yharnam can always use a good cleansing. Fascinating. It could be that a church hunter came to see him to sort of enact some of their famous prevention medicine by killing people before they even show signs of the beast plague, and maybe he defended himself, took out that church hunter, and swiped their flame sprayer, because I can't think of a good reason that Gilbert would have one of those. Alright, back to the Hunter stream. I don't think Yosefka, or Imposter Yosefka, has anything new to say, because I haven't sent anyone to her. I have sent the old suspicious, the untrustworthy beggar, or the untrustworthy man, to her, but because he doesn't trust me, he instead went to Odin Chapel.
Welcome. What is it you desire? Very well, let me...
Wow, 30 souls away.
Fair.
Blood echoes. What can we sell? Not Madman's knowledge, to be sure. I'll sell a bone marrow ash.
Welcome. What is it? Very well.
It's actually ideal, because it means I can go into the next boss fight with, like, only the souls that I'll get in the run to that boss. Alright, this brings me to level 43, putting me at 20 vitality, endurance, 25 strength, 15 skill. Don't really fool around with Blood Tinge and Arcane for most of the early playthroughs. I usually save that for New Game Plus and Chalice Dungeon content. Although the Chikage is really fun to use. It's a great reason to use a Blood Tinge, but you don't get the Chikage for quite a while. I think my next goal is going to be to bring vitality and endurance up to 25 and skill up to 20.
Farewell.
Or I might leave skill at 15 and take strength to 30. We'll see. We'll see what other items open up. Do I have any new blood gems? Doesn't seem like it. Nope. Cool. I do have a new rune, but I don't think I have a second rune slot. Oh, I do have a second rune slot. You start with all 4 of your rune slots? Cool. Well, then yeah, I'll equip here. Might as well. See if Gehrman has any newborn
The moon
swines.
is close. It will be a long hunt tonight.
Glad I asked him. The moon is
The
close.
beasts loom large and threaten to crush your spirits. Seek a holy chalice.
Okay, see, this is the game explaining what the Chalice Dungeons are. People don't understand that. But Chalice
Holy
Dungeons
chalice will reveal the tomb of the gods, where
are
hunters
completely optional.
partake in communion.
So what communion is drinking blood, essentially, right? And not really drinking, but rather getting more blood so that she can do her weird blood echo magic and give us more strength. That's what communion is. And this is what I love about this game. Like, this game doesn't tell you, hey, if you're having trouble, go through the Chalice Dungeons if you find a holy chalice. Instead, they just give you a weird fucking holy chalice at the end of a boss fight that doesn't lead you anywhere because it's a dead end. And then they throw you against a really powerful boss, kind of in the hopes, I think, that you won't have done Hemwick yet, and that you'll be kind of underleveled, and you'll need something to grind, pushing you into, if you talk to the main quest giver, Gehrman, the Chalice Dungeons, because he just explains there, you know, that the hunt will be long tonight. He also gave us some information about what determines the time dilation on the nights of the hunt. He said the moon will be close, So it'll be a long hunt tonight, indicating that it's the cycle of the moons, or the cycle of the moon, which informs the time dilation present on the night of the hunt, which would make sense because there's a giant fucking astral clock tower that seems to chart moon cycles in the middle of the cathedral ward. Not a regular fucking clock, like one that charts the moon cycles. And so he's told us, one, this is going to be a long hunt because the moon's very close, and as a result of that, the beast will probably be very dangerous and big and scary. And so if you're struggling with them, head to the Chalice Dungeons and partake in communion. And what the Chalice Dungeons offer, especially at this point in the game, is just extra content specifically for grinding so that you can build your strength. And that's why so many of the hunters tell us that any good hunter, any hunter of ilk, will be familiar with the Old Labyrinth, because that is the Holy Communion that you're taking part in when you conduct these chalice rituals that bring you into the Old Labyrinth. Is that you are killing for killing's sake. You're going through the history of the town and the towns that have sort of preceded Yharnam, slaying a bunch of otherworldly beasts, gaining more and more arcane items and insight, and eventually becoming way more powerful because you have more blood echoes to channel through the doll. So the game doesn't straight up tell you, hey, you're struggling, go to the Chalice Dungeons. But if you are looking for things to do and listening when people tell you things, every single piece of dialogue has something that it's trying to communicate to you. And I think that is the real magnificent part of games that Miyazaki has designed, like Demon's Souls, Dark Souls 1 and 3, Bloodborne and Sekiro, and soon Elden Ring. Oh. Alrighty, so we now can't dither about, and we have to go and try to take out that poison bastard, the Bloodstar Beast. And full disclosure, I'm not sure if I can beat him first try. Honestly, I thought I could beat Witches of Hemwick first try, but I went there so early that they kind of handed me my ass when I had my heads-up display off. Okay, let's do the run up to Bloodstar Beast. And we'll talk a bit about the lore of Old Yharnam. Although we did talk a lot about that in the last video. I just really think that the level design of Old Yharnam is brilliant. I love that you're enticed to chase the little scuttlebones down here and sort of discover early the texture of the shortcut path. Hey, beasties. I love the blankets over the head here, implying either that these beasts are intentionally trying to be stealthy, or feel shame because of their appearance, and so hide their shame with a blanket. I think either way, it communicates that the beasts in Old Yharnam are not just beasts, they're sentient, and the only reason that the beasts that we see are fighting us is because, well, we want to kill them, you know? Self-defense. Whereas these poor souls just hang around in their blankies. Not trying to hurt anyone. I'm really happy that I got the Lake Rune and the Rune Workshop tool first, because seeing how little damage was taken off there makes me feel very confident. Perhaps that's a false sense of confidence, because this boss does not fuck around. Alright, where are you? You over here? Yes, you are. Let us try to hit you in the butthole, and that failed. Bloodstone Shard. Yeah, I'm not going to fuss with those fellows. Alright, so, again, fucking weird shit with the statues, yo. Okay, so, like, I'm just going to rant about statues for a second here. Number one, ignoring the fact that these statues are fucking weird designs that you would never fucking commission because they're weird as shit. Let's talk about for a second how these statues are chained together. What is that? So I can understand chains around a coffin. That means, like, undeath, right? That means that, like, the people you're putting in coffins might not be fully dead. They might come back to life. You don't want them to break out and fuck up your shit. I get that. Statues? Statues. And statues that are often either looking away and weeping from the sky or specifically motioning to the sky. Now, I have a theory about this. It's a theory we'll talk about a little bit more when we get to Yahar'gul, in the Unseen Village, because statues take on a whole new life in that area. Statues kind of meld with the actual architecture in that area. But in this area, the fact that they're chained together, stone and pretty fucking weird with face coverings, I think implies to me there might have been some event, perhaps like the blood moon, right? The red moon hanging low, which would maybe indicate why a lot of these statues seem to be looking up at the sky. That something like the ritual conducted for the One Reborn, to some of the One Reborn, might require just an enormous sacrifice of life force or something like that, and it could just like petrify a bunch of ritualists or like village people in one fell swoop when the ritual is conducted. And that's why we see these statues chained together, because maybe these victims before the town was burned were actually chained together. And when the ritual was undergone, that required an enormous sacrifice on the part of Old Yarn, and perhaps it petrified a large number of the inhabitants. But I can't really think of another good way, and I know that way is even shaky. I can't think of another good way to explain why you would see chains wrapped around statues. It makes no sense to me. And I think Miyazaki is pretty intentional with his level design. And so I find that to be very, very unique. These aren't chained together. Those are fucking wild. You strong. You a strong one. I like your bandage pants. And this is a wolf that will fuck you up. Unless you're a pro gamer. Come on. Come on. Pro gamer. Some QBs, baby. Some Quicksilver Bulls. Oh, I think there is another bit of world design that we can do here. I think that now that we've opened the shortcut, and I think there's a little Scuttlebones over here that I want. Scuttlebones, where are you? Did you run away already? Damn. I think that once you have opened the shortcut, you can talk to Jura without aggroing him. Or it could be that doesn't happen until you take out the Bloodstar Beast. But just in case, let's see if we can talk to him right now. And yes, I'll probably have to take out a wolf or two to do that, but that's fine. I'm good at fighting wolfies. If they follow through with their attack animations and give me a chance to disroll them. More souls, please. Thank you, Rune. Okay, wolfies and their posse, not into it. That guy's been very cautious, hasn't he? 2 hits. Whew, okay. That guy's like, oh, see you guys later. I just forgot I have things that are important I need to do back at the Beast Inn. Slam into him. I think those guys came from here, but I'm just going to make sure that there isn't a beast looming about in these ashes. That isn't good. Alright, now we have not aggroed Jura. So I think there's a good chance we can approach him as a friend now. People ask me, how'd you get so good at climbing ladders? I was born that way. Ladder climbing. The strange moaning of the ritual going on. Alright, Jura, let's be friends. Let's not get into a roof battle. What is this, a Yakuza game? I cracked myself up. Let us be friends, Jura. That looks like I want to fight you pose. Yep. No. Fuck. No fighting. No fighting. So it looks like I need to take out the Bloodstar Beast or take out Dark Beast Parl to trigger him. Either way is fine. I've already cleared this area, so just gonna head back to the Bloodstar Beast boss arena, and then we will call it quits there and take on that boss in the next stream. Bloody streets of Yharnam, pretty freaking gross. Eerily quiet these streets. I don't think there are any knockable doors because I think there are no humans left in the city, so there's no one to talk to. Jura does tell us that there are no humans left right as we enter. We've already missed our chance at Scuttlebones, I think. And this, dear friends, is where we part. Tune in next time to witness my art.